Hi there. Welcome to the halftime huddle, halfway through the week. This is Mark Webb. If you are new to the show, sounds so grand, but if you're new to the lives we do every week, halfway through, then welcome. And if you're watching this live, I'd love to see for you to say hi and chat to us, because this is going to be interactive as well. So if you have any questions or if you have any comments, then please do tap them in the comments, and we will try and get to them if we're live, and we'll get them live. If you're watching this on the replay, then welcome in the future. And please do interact, say hi, get involved, say some comments, etc. And we will get back to you too. So just a quick sort of a precursor of what this is for. If you're coming across this first time, this is the halftime huddle. It's halfway through the week, hump day for those people who know what it means. It's the day when you start to realize that you're halfway through the week. You realize that you're rolling down towards the weekend, and all of the plans you might have had at the beginning of the week are suddenly a little bit weird, because you know what happens when you make a plan. Everybody conspires to make it a little bit more fun. And especially in these modern days, we know a little bit more about what that means. So this is an opportunity halfway through the week to refocus a little bit. I've got some guests coming on. We've got to talk about how they do it and what we do, and a little bit of a rebalance, a little bit of a halftime huddle, hence the name. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to someone I met in a coaching group. He is, to be honest, I'll let him introduce himself to you and let him know you know what he is. But so without further ado, I'll say welcome to Paul Jordan. So hi, Paul. Welcome.
Hi, Mark. Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Good. So like I said, I will let you introduce yourself. So for those people who don't know you or haven't come across you, a little bit about who you are, what you do, and you know, how they can find you, etc. You know, what a little bit you and your business.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'm just firstly thinking my image looks a little bit out of focus here.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's the internet being a bit. Yeah, no, I think it's a little bit wobbly a bit. It'll settle down hopefully. If that's one of the things that sometimes
no problem.
Happens.
Looks like I've had a lot to drink. That's all. But it's
not me. It's the others who are blurry. It's not you.
Okay, that's fine. Because the other image of me looks fine here.
Yeah.
So anyway, so as Mark said, my name is Paul Jordan. I have a business called LDM, which stands for Learn Digital Marketing, LDM Expert, and there's a website by the same name. My background is in technology. I studied engineering a long time ago, electrical and electronics. Spent my entire life in the tech industry, project management, software engineering, writing code, that kind of stuff. I've got a second interest in property, but that's probably not quite so relevant for today. And I got into this because I did a lot of training courses on different subjects in terms of digital marketing, and I find they all sort of concentrate on one thing, but they all leave a lot of things out. And that's why I decided to set up the training course, the online training course, which I'll talk about a bit later on, perhaps.
Yeah, thank you. Hopefully, like I said, it'll settle down a little bit, but It's good to hear you on. People can hear you anyhow, and
Sure.
which is good. Yeah, learn digital marketing. You've sort of given us a little bit of why and what you do it, but you've said you've had you start off on electrical engineering, and you did a lot of training, and you wanted to fill some of the gaps. Just for a quick sort of instance, can you give us a little bit of an example? What gap in particular do you think that you can fill that they haven't yet?
Yeah, sure. I think the answer is probably several gaps. I think a lot of training courses. Well, I'm talking about training courses. So if we're talking specifically about online marketing courses,
Hmm.
there'll be courses that teach you maybe how to set up a website, and another course that maybe tells you how to do Facebook ads, and another course that tells you how to create videos. So there's lots of courses that talk about individual subjects, but they leave you to go away and fill in the gaps for yourself. And I thought, having been on training courses myself, they expect you to know about a certain aspect of the thing they're talking about, and perhaps you don't. And it's left to the person watching the training course to go and scrub around on YouTube or do a lot of Google searches to sort of find the missing pieces to the jigsaw and find out for themselves. And I thought, well, really, if someone's going to be getting into this stuff, they need to have the whole picture. They need to sort of start with how to register a domain, get a website up and running. Things like website security, nobody talks about that. But of course, if you don't have it, you can get into big trouble. If your site gets hacked, you could be down, which could be obviously very expensive. So there's all these peripheral activities which aren't specifically internet marketing, but you need to have them all in place, because without them, you're very vulnerable. So I decided to sort of design a course that would cover everything, absolutely everything that you need to know from soup to nuts, as they say, rather than just talking about Facebook ads or just talking about domain names or just talking about a website. I think people that are getting into this kind of area, there's a lot of things you need to know, and I think like a lot of knowledge, it needs to be delivered in a logical order rather than just picking up bits of stuff randomly. You can build on things logically and build a foundation. So I thought I'd create a course that, to my mind, went through things in a logical fashion, but who knows?
Oh, brilliant! So, no, and you are right, and that's well, the beauty and the or also the weakness of your Google and your YouTube search is, if you know if you know what you're looking for, there's always information out there. But if you can spend hours, days, months trying to find the right piece of information. Whereas if it's all gathered together, like it sounds like what you've done, then it's all in one place.
That's the plan. That's the plan. And I think also, I know with my own style of, if I'm searching on Google, I'll tend to find 5 or 6 different pages and open them all. I'll find one that's written in a style that matches the way I like to learn. So if I have some kind of problem, like a printer driver not working, I'll Google it, and I'll just skim through all the pages to find the one that I like. But that can be quite, you can spend a lot of time doing that. And also, you'll find that people will teach in different styles. So there might be 5 YouTube videos on how to set up a domain name, or 5 YouTube, and sometimes there's some duff information out there. And I think it's not a bad approach, but it's very fragmented, and you can take a lot of time finding what you're looking for and that's presented in the fashion that you like. And I think also the problem, I've got very mixed feelings about video these days, into video, but I get very frustrated with training courses that are just in video, because you can't, if you're trying to find a keyword, how do you do it? If you've got a whole series of videos, like 5 videos, and you want to look for a keyword or a key phrase, how do you do that? Especially across 5 videos, back and forwards, fast forward, rewind, it drives me nuts. So at least with the written word, the good old fashioned word, you can Control F or do a find and find that keyword and skim through all the references and quickly home in on what you're looking for. Whereas videos frustrates me a lot when there's not a written reference. So I like to have both.
No, I know what you mean. We're on video now at the moment, but I know exactly what you mean. Is it can be quite a while. It's difficult to navigate. Although I am seeing more and more people trying to address that, and some sort of indexing and searching tools that will search
Yeah.
and index video, which, like you say, but still, it's not common, and it's not the common the way of going around things. So, and you're right. So much of is delivered in just one mode. And like you say, like exactly what you said when you talked about you like to search. There are different ways you can to consume information and knowledge, and different ways that stick to different people. So no, so good. So you're saying you mix of video, mix of text, mix of all kinds of different ways of learning in your course. Sounds good. And obviously,
Yeah.
we will put links in the comments to the course and some other bits where you can follow um, Paul later on. Although we'll
Thank
also
you.
ask him at the end. So we'll make sure that if you want to find the course, which sounds like it's a really useful course, then definitely people can follow from there. So the other, the other thing, basically this is a little bit about trying to get to the underlying of what the people out there who are running small businesses, what makes them tick, what do they do, how do they get through it. One of the key things that is also fascinating for me is the sort of, and it came across in the last one of these I did, is a sort of terminology I use because it sort of means a lot to me in my sort of geek term is superpower and kryptonite, etc. It's essentially a veiled request for your strength and weakness in terms of what about business do you find, because business is, a lot of people go into business, like you say, you've got a passion to help people and to help navigate the mess that is around some of this sort of stuff, and you want to help and support people too. But running a business is different from just giving people information. So in terms of running a business, what is the one thing that you think is your business superpower that you've leaned into and you think is something that you're comfortable with and is your strength?
Yeah, I think I'm super organized. I think over the years as a software developer, there's quite a lot of discipline when you're writing code and have coding standards and discipline. As a project manager, you're juggling lots of balls, spinning lots of plates, managing a whole bunch of different people, different projects, different suppliers, and there's a huge amount of information to keep track of, and usually it's time sensitive. So you have to find efficient ways of keeping track of things and having project plans that are actually practical that you can work with, and the critical path and dependencies. So I think through life I've become very organized, and because I've always worked in software and Microsoft products, Outlook, Word, spreadsheets, as soon as I get a challenge, I usually reach for spreadsheets straight away to start listing things,
Yeah.
putting numbers on things, filing systems, naming conventions. So I can look ahead and see how things are going to grow and work out ways of getting them pretty well organized early on. And using the calendar feature on Microsoft Office, for example, I use that religiously. My whole life is in that. Without that, my life would fall apart. All my appointments, my birthdays, my reminders, where I've got to be, what time I've got to be there. Even things like follow-ups. So if you post a letter, I always like to put like a follow-up 10 days later to make
Yeah.
sure that I follow the letter up that I posted. Otherwise, it's like, oh, what happened to that letter I posted 6 months ago? I forgot about that. So yeah, well organized. I suppose I have a good awareness of all the tools that are out there to become very organized, and I use some of those in my business to good effect. So I think, and when you've got a lot of stuff to
Yeah.
manage, you can easily get snowed under. So it's
No,
being organized is
absolutely.
key.
Absolutely, and I think you're right. A lot of people don't completely understand. I mean, like I said, you come from a project management background, so you understand the complexity in any kind of project, and a business is a project of some kind at some level,
Yeah,
if not multiple projects. Well, it is
yeah,
multiple projects. I don't know why I say if in multiple
ongoing.
projects. Yeah, absolutely. So you understand the complexity and the need to have that organized in such a way that you're not getting confused and lost in the mess of the interactions and the network of
Yeah,
different things, etc. So like I said, but a lot of people come into business without that understanding. So understanding that being organized at some level is a key to running a business well. On the flip side of that, and this is the interesting bit that I sometimes find, is kryptonite. What is the one thing that makes you squirm and makes you think, if I can get rid of it, or if I have got rid of it, sooner rather than later, what's the first thing you'd outsource, sort of thing?
oh, that's a. This might not be the right answer for this question, but I suppose the weakness that I
Yeah,
recognise in myself, um, is not so much stuff that I don't like doing, but it's my my ability to avoid distraction, shiny object syndrome,
Yeah.
and I've really worked on it very, very hard, and trying to unsubscribe from all the websites that I used to be a member of. But even now, it's very I've if I try and sort of say, okay, I'm going to time block my day, and I'm only going to respond to emails at this time of the day. If an email comes in or something comes up on my phone, I find it really hard to ignore it. But I'm learning to live with the discomfort of ignoring things,
Yeah.
and because I catch myself and think, no, don't, and so there'll be something waiting on my phone for attention. But it's quite hard because you never know if it's an important message from a loved one or something like that, or if it's just a junk email. So it's quite hard, but it's so important to get focused, because you can spend an hour of really focused quality time where you get so much done. Whereas if you have 3 hours of fragmented time where you're attending to too many things, multitasking, we do not do it well. There's again many books that I've read, and so being focused, I'm kind of getting better at it. I'm doing it intermittently. So my kryptonite and my weakness is very much kind of distractions, and learning to push them away, ignore them, and just carry on with the main thing.
Yeah, and sort of this is one of the interesting things that comes across is often a person's superpower comes out of a need to focus, need to address their kryptonite. I think a part and parcel of what I'm sort of hearing in terms of the organisation and the structure and the getting stuff in place, almost feels to me, and I don't know whether you thought to this, feels to me like almost a little bit of a response to helping you keep your focus, because you've got things in order, you've got things in organised. If that shiny syndrome, shiny penny sort of turns up, then you've got a mechanism or a thing to put it in. For instance, if you've got an organisation, a process, a structure, you've organised yourself for your day, like you say. You read your email at a particular time, even though notification clicks up in the background. You're tempted to go away. You've got a structure of and a process and an organisational tool to help you sort of refocus on the thing you're focusing on, and say, well, go back to that. So. It's intriguing. It's quite like I said. It does seem to sometimes come across. Not always the case, but it came. Last time the superpower and kryptonite were very much tied together in some respect.
That's a very interesting observation. I hadn't thought of it that way before, but that makes absolute sense, because one of the things that drives me absolutely nuts. I'm quite a patient person, but I go absolutely nuts if I search for something that I can't find. And that can be both physically in the house, like car key, yes, or also a file on the computer or something. I know I've done that spreadsheet. Where the hell is it? So you're right. So if I filed something away and I have to come back to it, at least because of the systems I have, I know that I can get back to it quickly without having to rummage through loads of files. Think, where did I file that? Where did I put it? I know it's in a place where I can find it. So that helps from being distracted to come back to where you were. So that's a good point.
Indeed, and yeah, like I said, I have the same frustration. Yesterday, I put my phone down and I couldn't find it for anywhere, and it was on. It's one of those things. It's like if you lose your glasses, how do you find your glasses? If you lose your phone, yes, trying to ring your phone to get your phone. So but yeah, I have the same. Yeah, I have the same frustration. But we've sort of skirted onto the next sort of thing I like to talk to people about. And you've sort of mentioned you use a lot of them already. But the sort of tools that you can't live with. One of the tools, like currently, I spend a lot of my time living in is this thing that's creating this, which is AGame. I mentioned it before, but it's a tool I would now find difficult to do, live without. And also, I've talked a bit before about sort of other sort of processes and tools in terms of journaling and a notebook and stuff like that. So, but in terms of you, what are if there's one or two tools that I think you might have alluded to one of them was Microsoft Office.
One or two. One or two. That would be hard, Mark.
As long as it's not 10.
Sure.
Anything under 10.
No, it won't be 10. I suppose there are some ones that we can kind of take for granted that I don't need to talk about, because we all use mobile phones, which I'd be lost without. Google is like, part of my breathing day, if you like. So Google is like that's a given, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
It's a bit like desert island discs in it. What would you take?
Yes,
but I suppose a big tool that forms a core or a foundational part of my business is an online product called ClickUp.
Uh-huh.
My whole business is very much based on that, and that's a workflow and project management system. So fantastic system. I looked at lots of products like Asana, Monday, loads of different things,
Yeah.
and to me, this ClickUp was by far the best because of all the things you can do. It's just absolutely well thought through. It's absolutely brilliant. So couldn't live without that. My business would just fall apart in terms of being organized and managing teams of people and individual people and progress and estimate. Oh, it's just,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't imagine trying to run a business without it, when you've got all files flying around and different people working on different things. So ClickUp is that's definitely one that I would be lost without for sure. In terms of secondary one, that's probably like head and shoulders above everything else.
Yeah.
Lots of other little tools. I think probably just the fundamental one, my calendar, because that just helps to keep me organised. So it's quite a basic one. So I've got an app on my phone which synchronises up with the website, which I'm sure we've all got the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So my calendar is the thing that helps to keep me organised, as I mentioned earlier. So those are probably the key ones that spring to mind. And as I say, there's lots of other bits and pieces which I won't bore you with now.
Indeed, and I think you're right. I think it's interesting you said ClickUp. I have come across ClickUp. I haven't used it, but I've heard some really good things about it. Like I said, I tend to be primarily at the moment because I don't have the interaction I need with other people, particularly at the moment. So I tend to use Trello. I think is the one thing that I use quite a lot for workflows and work processes. But I've heard a lot of good things about ClickUp, and I've heard a lot of good things about how it can help it with like a team interaction. So it's nice to hear that you find that really useful. And you're right, calendar. I if it's not in the calendar, it isn't happening. From what I
no, exactly.
No, indeed. And one thing, absolutely. And the number of times I talked about integration, not having sort of many people to deal with. I do have my partner, my wife to manage, and we now have a shared calendar because, like I said, there are times when she'd put stuff in and it wouldn't be in the calendar, and I go blithely away thinking I had my free roam to do what I needed to do, only to find out that my time had been taken.
Ooh, no anniversaries you've missed, I hope.
No, I haven't done that. Anyway, that one's that one's fine. That one's a given. I haven't actually missed that, but. Not knowing that the kids are coming, or not knowing when something else. But now it's in the calendar. We've both got the calendar. We're like you said, absolutely. And we've got Richard Fay talking about the same sort of thing. Google Calendar. Let's see if it works properly. Did it come across? Yeah, Richard Fay. He likes Polio and HubSpot. I don't know if you've heard Polio HubSpot. I've heard of obviously Trello. I mentioned Trello.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a HubSpot user as well for my sort of content management. Another good tool. But Polio, that's something I've not come across yet. So you hear about all these new tools, and you think, well, I'll have a look at that, and I get distracted. And then I think, oh, do I know?
Absolutely.
Do I move from this tool to that tool?
You've already mentioned shiny penny and distractions, so which is one of the things I toyed about whether to put this in the conversation, but I think it's useful to hear people's experiences with the particular tools they use and the things they use to solve particular common problems, like for instance you say managing your time, managing your interaction with other people. It's useful to understand that. So but you're right, if you're not careful you could again think because I'm already thinking, should I go and have a look at ClickUp?
Yeah. This is the trouble, there's those four stages of knowledge, isn't there? You don't know what you don't know, you know what you don't know, and you know what you know, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if there's something out there that's new, you think, well, do I need to know about that? And I think, well, until I've seen it, I won't know whether it's worth looking at or not. So I might take a little glimpse and think, okay, that's something, I'm going to just dismiss that. Or I might think, oh, well, actually, that's relevant to what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'll go down that rabbit hole. But I even tried to stop doing that. I think it might be relevant, and because people say, come on, Paul, you should be looking at this because it's relevant to what you're doing. Well, yeah, it might be, but I'll try and push it away because it's a distraction. But it might be really relevant. It might be very relevant. And there's that conflict of, it might be really relevant, but I just don't want to know. I just want to get on with what I'm doing.
No, absolutely. Really and talking of distractions, Richard's clarified that he meant Podio.
Oh, Podio. Now, yeah. I have heard of Podio, but I'll look it up afterwards to find out more.
There we go again.
QuickBooks. Oh yeah,
There we go.
QuickBooks. I'm a QuickBooks Online user, but I got really peed off when that one-off cost. But now they've got a subscription model, so you have to pay every month.
Oh no.
Can you hear me? Okay, because
Yes.
my image froze for a while there.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Your audio went a little bit roboty, but no, you're right.
I'm
While
here.
while I understand from working, and we could spend a long time, we won't go down that rabbit hole because, like I said, both of us have got a technical background. While I understand the need for tools and the tool makers to recoup their money from making it, because I know it's expensive in time and resources to do some of the things they're doing because they're quite complicated. But I do sometimes think the subscription model, which seems to be the model that's taken over, is a bit of a bitter pill to swallow sometimes. Even if you're not careful, even a small, $10-15 or whatever it is, monthly, or even less than that, mounts up if you're not careful. And once once you're stuck in there using the system, exactly what you said about ClickUp, once you started using a tool, having to migrate to another tool is hard work. Ooh, so yeah, indeed.
Very. Oh yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's an evil that is necessary, because I feel these people do have to make some money for the things they do, because they're providing some really useful tools, and people need to be there needs to be a fair exchange for the tool used, because there's a lot of time and energy involved in it, but still.
Yeah, well, software is a bottomless pit, isn't it? Where you both know that bugs are never infinitely fixed. Mm-hmm. If you buy a car or a washing machine, you don't sort of pay a monthly subscription fee. You might be on a service plan or whatever, but you pay. I like the idea that you put some money, you buy something, and that's it. And it's but for the subscription of a webinar product, you might be paying £500 a year, but for over the lifetime of your business, it's like tens of thousands, and that's just for one of the many products that you end up using. So
no, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and I agree completely with it. I mean, the again, we're going down a discussion, which is a useful discussion. I mean, the advantage to, I suppose, like you say, you talk about a car. Once you buy a car, the car is the car, and you get serviced to some level, but you don't get upgrades. You don't get the newer models. You don't get all the new bells and whistles that the latest version of that car gets. Whereas with the subscription model, you're always on the latest. So there are pros and cons, but like I said, it can easily be a money sink if you're not careful, and if you're not careful in terms of looking at we talked earlier about Audible subscription. You talked about if you do it one way, you can be forever drip feeding a lot of money, or you could do it another way and you get a whole chunk of stuff that might last you for ages, and you never need to renew or do it again. It is easy to all of a sudden, have a tenner here, £20 here, £40 here, £50 there. All of a sudden, you're forking out, hundreds, if not thousands of pounds a month on software, which is easy to do. And
yes,
indeed. So like I said, thank you for your suggestions, and I will go and have a look at them, because and
sure.
both for Richard as well. I'll go and have a look at Podio as well. So thank you for your suggestions. Another thing that we forget sometimes when you're starting a business, especially if you're starting a business on your own, you're going to have customers. Oh, you hope you're going to have customers, but there are also other people involved in doing your business, and keeping in touch with them, keeping them fresh, and understanding who you are, where you are, etc. is quite important. There's a number of different ways people go about it, and I just wondered, what do you tend to use to keep in contact with your customers, existing and new ones, and also people who you might collaborate. I know you and I are in a little mini group where we contact regularly, but are there other things you use to keep into contact with your colleagues, etc.?
Yeah. I suppose I've got a couple of guys. I employ a couple of guys full time in the Philippines, and they both speak very good English. The challenge we have with communication is the time difference, because they're 8 hours ahead of us, 7 hours in the summer, but 8 hours in the winter because of daylight saving, blah blah blah. So there's only a limited window in the day when I can actually talk to them live. So when we do that, I'll use Zoom, because
Yep.
that's, Zoom is the quickest and easiest way to have a video call, it would seem. We also use WhatsApp, but we use WhatsApp so that we have the browser open. So I insist that they have a browser tab open with WhatsApp web running,
Yep.
so that we can type messages and stay in touch that way. And I can also we can send lots of links to each other for work to review,
Yep.
tasks and ClickUp, websites to look at, all that kind of stuff, and screenshots. So WhatsApp is very good for sort of like communicating, but for video it's Zoom. Going back to ClickUp, one of the things I love about ClickUp is the many ways that you can communicate asynchronously inside the tool. For example, I'll give you an example. For example, if you've got someone working on 3 separate products, I've got a graphic designer who's doing maybe 4 or 5 different images,
Yep.
and those images might be for separate projects, the same project, Facebook, they might be for a whole variety of things. So inside ClickUp, you have the concept of a task, and you create a task, and you can attach images and documents and files and anything to the task. But you can have a conversation inside the task, and you can assign a comment to somebody. And then that person has to, when they see the comment, they read it, and then they tick it, and then you see that they've seen the comment. So when you're trying to communicate asynchronously,
Yep.
if you're trying to do it via email, you can't really, the emails are a little bit
Yeah.
difficult, but because it's on a specific task, you know that that comment applies to that deliverable at that revision. So you might have a whole bunch of different comments on unrelated tasks for deliverables,
Yeah.
and you know that you can keep track of the conversation. So each task has its own thread individually for that deliverable, which is fantastic for communication. Also, from within a task, you can open up a Zoom. So you can have a Zoom session, and then that can be recorded, and you can attach the video of that recording to the task if you wish. Don't tend to use that very much. But ClickUp in itself, all the different communication that you can do within it, messaging, assigning comments, mentioning people, is fantastic. So we use email as well, but I don't tend to use email very much, because I usually find that when I start to write an email, it's usually related to some work we're doing. I think, well, hang on, Paul, that comment that you were saying in an email should go on the task and ClickUp, where they can see it and there's a record of it and they can respond to it. So I don't tend to use email that much for teamwork. So it's WhatsApp and Zoom and ClickUp.
Okay.
That's a long answer, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, it's good. And like I said, I love how we're sneaking back into tools again, which
sorry.
No, absolutely. But and to be honest, like I said, it's always, I'm a techie and a geek at heart, and I love a good recommendation of tools, and like I say, I think it's great. So one thing, yeah, I could say do you, when you said you do a Zoom call, is it a regular Zoom call, or is it your ad hoc when you feel you need them?
Bit of both. I try and have a Zoom call at the beginning of every day. I like to try and just keep them on their toes, know that I'm there, and just for continuity and a bit of social contact as well. They're nice guys. I enjoy talking to them. We have a bit of banter, and I think it's important to have a bit of fun, because it's trying to build a relationship remotely is important, so we can enjoy each other's interaction as well as talking about work. So it's good for that. But so we have a regular one. I try and get up early, but struggling with the dark mornings, if I'm honest. But I try to get up early so that my 6 o'clock is their add on 8 to 6. That's 14. So it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon for them when it's 6 o'clock in the morning here. But also in the day, if I know they're still working, I will try and add Zoom with them. And I encourage them to Zoom me. I say, look, if you've got any questions, just hit me up on Zoom, which they're not very good at doing, because I think the Filipino, it's their cultural thing. They're not very good at asking the boss a question, kind of thing.
Interrupting, absolutely, and then good stuff. Which is I think, and again we're going into a little bit of a virtual working practices as opposed to face to face. If you're in the same physical location, oftentimes if you have got a challenge, you'd get up and walk across the office to talk to the other person in the room. Whereas it can be something that you, like you say, which you now can do, but you have to give them a Zoom call. But like I said, that feels a little bit more intrusive than strolling over to someone and having a chat at their desk, even though it's just as intrusive. Because they could be easily just as in the middle of something, just as they were if you Zoom, and you can, the one advantage to a Zoom is you can say no and reply, sorry, I'm busy, I'm doing something, whereas it's a little bit harder if someone's standing by your desk. So sorry, I'm in the middle of something. Whereas in Zoom,
A
you
lot of
can
trust.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. It's been many times I've tried to Zoom people and they've been on a bathroom break or been on a lunch break or popped out on an errand, and I just say,
Yep.
guys, just keep. Well, I say, if you are going out, just tell me in advance so that I know that
Yep.
I'm
No,
wasting my
absolutely.
time if I'm sitting here waiting for you and you're not there. So
No,
that can be
absolutely,
frustrating.
absolutely. And like I said, I know from working in the environment before came to this. There's a lot of things you take for granted if you're in a physical environment where you can see someone going for a toilet break, or you can see someone going for lunch, or you can see
Mm.
someone wandering off. You realize there's some of these key triggers, or no, well, I can't remember. I don't think you call them triggers, but these key visual cues, I suppose you could call them,
Cues.
is something you have to put in manually now. Like I said, just popping off. And it's as simple as BRB or something like that, or
Yeah, yeah,
exactly, yeah, which you can do quite easily. But you realize you have to. And it becomes a habit. You have to get into the way you're working when you're doing this kind of remote work. But it's all doable.
yeah.
So cool. And how, do you keep in regular contact with your leads and your customers? Do you have a list that I suppose everybody thinks about it, or do how often do you use that?
Well, I, if I'm honest, I don't have any customers right now because the train course that I was talking about earlier on,
That's still being
that's
developed. Okay.
it's the development's pretty much finished, but
Oh, okay.
we're going to launch it soon. As I probably mentioned before, through Ryan's course that we're both
Oh,
familiar with.
yes. Yep.
I'm working on my webinar script, and the webinar script will be the funnel that leads to the sales page, etc. So that's work in progress. So I don't have any customers. However, I've been delivering a lot of webinars, and I've
Yep.
had a lot of subscribers to the webinar. So I've got a slowly building email list of about 100, I think it's about 200 people that I've just grown
From
through
your web.
free
Yeah.
traffic on Eventbrite.
Organic type
Um,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and I could email them a lot more than I do, but I haven't so far because yeah, why have I not emailed them? That's a good question. It's on my to do list is like email sequences and all that kind of stuff. It's all work in progress, but so I've sent out a few emails to my
Mm-hmm.
webinar audience,
Yep.
but not as thoroughly as I know that I should do. But I'm going to do it. It's just on the to do list to write these sequences and get it all automated. I've got Get Response as my email service provider, so I hate that word just because it belittles the work, doesn't it? But
Yeah.
I just need to do these 10 million things, and that's on the
That's
list.
right. I know, absolutely. Just need to get that done, which is just a
Just
one
yeah.
a one line item in your list of things to do. But you do realize that if you pull it apart, it's about 53 million other item things that need to be done
Subtasks
first.
and yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. No, yeah. I know that for sure. Yeah, I've just got to get this done. Just got to get my
Just
webinar done.
yeah.
just gotta do my email sequence. I've just got to get my blah blah blah. It's
It's a
easy. Yeah,
terrible word. It's a
yeah,
terrible
indeed,
word, isn't it?
In-
Just
indeed, indeed. So yeah, thank you for that. That's really useful. The final, well, there's two final things. There's one thing I'd like to be honest, I might ask that now rather than make it the final thing. And this is a question I've borrowed, and we've had conversations before about borrowing stuff, and it's really good to. There's so much information out there, and it seems silly to reuse. To rebuild information that is well out there and stuff. And this is a question from Tim Ferriss and his podcast and his Tribe of Mentors, which is a good book. I recommend reading it. But it's a book about books. A question about books, and we both, which is spurred on the Audible question we had beforehand in the preamble of this conversation. It's about books, and what book have you recommended or gifted most? And I'll sort of say why that question rather than the other one.
okay. I think I love reading books, as we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
I love business books. There's been some really good ones, but for me, the book that has changed my I'm not going to say it changed my life because that sounds a bit melodramatic, but the one book that's been really important to me is a book called Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that, I'd say, is that you know everyone talks. I say everyone. There's a lot of talk about mindset in the business world. Or you've got to have the right mindset, and you've got to have the right mindset for this. And if I rewind to my school days and my parenting, or my parents didn't get. I had a reasonable childhood. Parents never sort of gave me a lot of encouragement. I think I came across the phrase that we've all heard, like, if first you don't succeed, try again. But in terms of mindset, it was never that well defined to me. So I thought I'll buy the book. And when I read the book, it was a real eye opener, because I think I had a clue what mindset was about, but to actually see it set out in black and white, and actually having a clear definition of it and understanding what it actually is, and then coming away afterwards, so that I know exactly what mindset is, because Carol Dweck invented the phrase. Really, she's the professor who studied it.
Yeah.
And knowing how to apply it, it's actually really easy. It's just the words that you decide to say to yourself, in terms of less how you frame things. I mean, you can have different people that will frame. People talk about success and failure. Other people talk about success and lessons, or success and feedback. And if you don't win, you learn, as opposed to winning or failing, because failing is a very negative thing, I think. Well, it's got negative connotations. So learning how to frame things, and recognizing that we all have dark days. Well, I say we all do. I have dark days where I feel quite low, my self-confidence is gone, and I start to doubt what I'm doing. And when you reach out to the world, you find out that you're not alone, because that's common with a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Not every day you feel like bubbly and positive and fantastic and want to take on the world. It's good to know that you're not alone having those thoughts, but also when you read the book, you recognise that you can frame any situation in many different ways, and you can frame it in a very negative way, like, oh, I'm crap at that, I'm not going to bother with that again, as opposed to saying, okay, well, I need to learn more and I need to work harder to get that result. And just learning the different way that you can speak to yourself internally or verbalise it externally, having that clarity of what it is and how to do it, for me, has been really really important, because I know that if I do feel a bit down sometimes, I'll just say a set of positive words to myself rather than a set of negative words to myself. And it's really important, very powerful, because words are very powerful, as they are in marketing, but self-talk and all that kind of stuff. So yes, that would be the book.
Yeah, brilliant.
Mindset by Carol Dweck.
Great recommendation. Thank you very much. And like I said, you're so right. It really is easy to, and we have a tendency as humans to focus on the negative. It's sort of one of those. Yeah, absolutely, completely. It's the one thing that's kept us from jumping into that bush, because we thought it was just a nice, silly little noise, rather than a saber-toothed tiger is the standard metaphor or framing of that conversation. And it keeps us alive and keeps us alive. But we've moved on from that, and we know we're an adaptive species, an adaptive creature that we can adapt and can change. And if we go about things in that kind of manner, like exactly what you say, failures aren't be all and end all. That's it. We're never going to do it ever again. It's the old Edison quote about, I've just found 1,000 different ways of not to make a light bulb.
Yes.
Exactly. Just find another way that doesn't work, and the nature of things are normally, there are often a number of different ways to do something, but there's more often than not a lot more ways of not doing it properly than doing it. So and you could easily, one of the things that I tell some of the people I work with that your success isn't necessarily a one-way street, and anything along the way could have easily turned that success into a failure, and you get sort of nulled into a false sense of security sometimes when you succeed, whereas a failure is an ultimate lesson. It's that thing didn't work, and then you can go back and find out why it didn't work, and what went wrong, and what didn't work out, and what assumptions all the kind of things that you would lose to learn from it. Whereas we often forget that success is also a learning experience as well, that we don't often learn from, because we take it as brilliant, I've done that, I can move on. But success is only
Yeah, good
success when you
point.
can repeat it lots of times.
Yes.
But but yeah, no, great book. Thank you very much. And that sort of leads me on to the final book. You talked about there are times when you feel that you need to refocus, and you talk about dark days, and we all face it, entrepreneurs or not entrepreneurs, we all face some kind of ups and downs and times when we're not really on our best game. And this is sort of part and parcel of what this live is about, is the fact that as I alluded to at the beginning, we start the week with all good intentions most of the time. There are some times when we don't, but most of the time we start with good intentions. Get to Wednesday, and all kinds of things have happened that have changed the situation, and we need a little bit of a reboost. So is there anything particularly that you use to help yourself keep focused during the week?
Yeah, I'd say it's a combination of things. I got into meditation a few years ago because I've always been curious about it, what it is, and there are so many different forms of it. There's very disciplined anyway, guided meditation. So meditation's been quite good, and mindfulness, and depending which books you read, a lot of that is about how you deal with your own inner thinking. And so pure meditation is like you're supposed to think of nothing and just sit there and relax and think of nothing, but obviously you have all these thoughts that come into your mind. But I think having the way that we talk to ourselves, our self-talk, we need to be. I think it's very important that we're very kind to ourselves, that we treat our own selves as we would treat a friend. So if we make a mistake or we do something wrong or we break something, instead of berating ourselves and saying "you beep idiot," or I think it's really important to be kind to ourselves and use the same words that we would use with a good friend. That if they did that thing, we'd reassure them, we'd support them, we'd speak kind words to them. So I think self-talk is really important.
Yeah.
Meditation to clear the mind, and sometimes I like a guided meditation. So I listen to some recordings. There's quite a few people like Joe Dispenza. He's amazing, interesting guy. So that's quite good. Clearing out the mind, making space in the mind, because when you're busy, your mind fills up with a million things. You have to kind of clear them all out to allow space for creativity to grow. An extension of that, I'd say, is like having a really healthy diet, really looking after. If you're looking after if this machine is working really hard and trying to be super productive at 100 miles an hour, redlining all the time, you've got to do regular oil changes. You've got to change the brake pads. So you've got to have a good diet. You've got to have lots of water, healthy vegetables, good diet. Look after the machine. And part of that is also I go to fitness classes and I try to go for running. Don't enjoy it, but I know it's looking after the machine. So maybe I'll get to a stage where I'm frustrated with some work where I hit a bit of a block, and maybe I'll go for a run, or maybe just take a break and go and do something else. And also at the end of the week, if I don't always achieve my objective, again, instead of berating myself, I think, okay, well, I've worked hard, I've done the best I could. Acknowledge the things that I have done, and just accept that it's frustrating. Things take longer than I expect. Often, despite being a project manager, I often underestimate things. But to just become accepting of it rather than pushing back, because if you push back, the law of physics says if you push at something, there's going to be an equal and opposite force coming back at you, and that can be psychologically as well as physically.
Yeah.
So if you have resistive thoughts and fight things away, they're going to fight back. And sometimes I think there's a meditation or guru that says something like, if you have negative thoughts, let them into your house, but don't invite them to stay for tea. So they come in and they go. So you let them pass. But rather than trying to grapple with them and fight them, and it's not always successful, we can still try and be positive in our outlook and the way that we deal with things and learn lessons. But if we're constantly battling with stuff, sometimes we just need to let it go. And sometimes we're going to miss deadlines. Sometimes we're not going to get things done. And just be good about it and not beat ourselves up, because that's always going to happen. And it's just a part of life. So all of those things together, I think.
No, it's brilliant. I like that, and you're not the first person in this series to talk about Joe Dispenza, which is good. Yeah, no, I think you're right. Sometimes you have to realize, exactly what you say, that you need to take a break, and my way is go for a bit of a walk.
Yeah.
I also one of the funny things was I don't know why I did this, but I put some bread on. Bread is the thing that I use to
Oh, bread.
baking bread is one of my therapeutic sort of ways of doing things, because there's
Ooh,
nothing there's something sort of quite nice about working with bread.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I
Like
so
cooking. Yeah,
yes,
it's a good
yeah,
distraction, isn't it?
absolutely. No, it is. So, but yeah, no, you're very right, and like I said, it reminded me when you talked about letting your negative thoughts in. It's a bit like the to and froing, and I mean, I did when I was younger. I did a bit of judo, and the thing about bringing judo is if they're attacking you, you let their momentum drag them onto sort of to move them around, and it's almost like you let the force that they're bringing into your house, but you don't let it stay. So I like that that phrasing of letting the negative thought in, or the negative ideas in, and just welcome it past as it goes on its merry way. Whereas if you're very right, if you push at something, an equal or opposite force will push back, which is no, definitely, and that's you talk about being physics. It's emotional physics as well as
Yes,
physical physics.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes.
indeed. So brilliant. It's lovely being chatting to you. Thank you very much for sparing the time to chat with us today. Lots of things, food to thought away, and unfortunately, loads of distracting tools for me to go and look at.
Okay.
but but thank you very much for your time. For those people who want to know a little bit more about you, I will post some links in the comments. But for the time being, just where would you they best be find out a little bit about you and the things you do, and in particular the course you're in the process of launching.
Gosh, yeah. Where's the one place? Well, I've got a Facebook. I'm on Facebook.
Yep.
I'm on LinkedIn, Paul Jordan.
Yep.
So you'll find me on both those platforms. On Facebook, I've also got a page called LDM Expert, where you'll
Okay.
find some videos and images and some links to webinars and that kind of thing. So that's a good place to find a bit more about the course. But yeah, either of those is probably a good place to start.
Brilliant. Well, thanks again. And I we will chat. You and I will chat again.
Yeah,
But I think you and I will chat again today. I think it's.
I think we are.
I
I look
think we
forward
are,
to it.
and we are chatting again today. But in the meantime, thank you for spending some time with us, and we will speak more soon. So, for those of you who are watching this, thank you very much for watching. For those on the replay, again, please say hi. If you have any comments or any other suggestions, maybe you've got some tools that you might want to share with us, or some books or some tips, then we'd love to hear them. But in the meantime, have a great second half, and I will see you next time.
Thanks for inviting me, Mark. Thank you.
Hi, it's me again, quickly at the last minute. It was great talking to Paul, and like I said at the end, I will be talking to him in a bit. Not just after this, immediately I'll just say hi as well. But if there anybody who'd love to bring on here, then please let me know. Also, if you'd like to come on and have a chat, then please do drop me a message, and I'd love to talk to you about coming on and having a chat, because I think it's brilliant. I love having a chat with all these people. So thank you again, Paul, who I know is listening in the background, and we will see you all soon.